Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community.
Hello and welcome to Life Esteem. Always great to have you as a viewer. Thank you so much for watching. Today we're going to talk to Mpowell, and he's with Habitat for Humanity and Vista AmeriCorps. So glad to have you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. You're in a pretty unique position. This is very interesting stuff. Tell us about the Habitat and the positions that you currently hold.
Well, everybody knows that Habitat's building houses forever, and they also renovate homes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we dedicated a home on Sarker Street recently to a young family, their first home. But when Habitat was looking at their programs, they knew that once they get people in the homes and they get these partnership with homeowners, that they decide to look at how to keep the homeowner in the home. So they came up with a critical care component. And then later down the road, with President Obama has a mandate to address homelessness amongst veterans. They created a veteran component of the critical home repair component called Repair Corps.
And one of the things that's interesting in your situation is you're a veteran.
Yes.
And also you do home repair.
Yes.
And so you had this unique resume to kind of help you kind of plop right in. And you unpadded Mint and talked about this whole piece. And so here you sat, and it's really good, man, because this is a program that a lot more people need to know about, I think.
Absolutely.
The Vista AmeriCorps, yeah. So tell us about some of your duties with Vista AmeriCorps right now.
Well, Vista AmeriCorps means volunteer in service to America. That's what Vista means. Pardon me. And Vista AmeriCorps actually is just the latest incarnation of the Peace Corps. President Clinton, as a matter of fact, we just celebrated our 20th anniversary this year. But under that program, I actually work for the Corporation for National Community Service out of Washington, D.C. And I'm assigned for a year of service as a volunteer with Habitat for Humanity of the Greater Harrisburg area. And my duties are in the capacity as I'm the Veteran Outreach Coordinator. And my duties are to make people aware of the Repair Corps program and also to build the capacity and make it sustainable after my year of service. It's in its third year at this particular affiliate. It's been in place in other affiliates. As a matter of fact, last Thursday, we had a veterans networking meeting. All of the Habitat affiliates in the area met in Philadelphia on last Thursday to discuss where we're going with our veterans programs in Habitat for Humanity.
Fantastic.
So in building the capacity, I've been reaching out to social agencies and trying to build partnerships. I actually had a meeting last week with General Gronsky, who's the commanding general of the 28th Infantry Division stationed here in Harrisburg. I met with him and his command staff, and they partnered with me with Habitat on our initiative to, his unit is gonna volunteer at some of our veterans builds and some of our veterans repairs. Also, I partnership with Comcast. I had lunch with Frank Lynch, who's the regional vice president for Comcast, and they partner with us. They're going to do they're going to provide volunteers for a couple of our veteran repairs. And I partner with, please forgive me, You Grow Learning Centers. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a presentation at You Grow Learning Centers. I'm going to build a birdhouse. But with the purpose of starting, because Vista, AmeriCorps Vista is about volunteerism, community service through volunteering. And, in conversation with our Habitat's Executive Director, Bill Wood, we thought it would be good to engage the kids early on to teach them about volunteerism and community service, helping your neighbors through volunteering. So we're going to do a small presentation in the next few days, as a matter of fact, and we're going to build a birdhouse for them to let them actually see what it is that Habitat does, and to also kind of like spark their volunteerism, kind of like get them started early.
That's right.
Christian service through volunteerism. Habitat is ecumenical. but we believe in Christian love through service.
Fantastic.
And so it was unique how I came about the position. I was actually at another meeting of social service agencies called Sister McCary, and I had my resume on my flash drive, and the young lady who my predecessor, she said, she announced that they were hiring for my position.
Okay.
And when she saw my resume and the fact that I was a veteran and the fact that I had 20 years experience in home renovations, she said, can I forward this to my director right now? And after a phone conversation with the then executive director, E. Wackhouse, she interviewed me, and I went through the formal interview process, and they hired me. And I'm 6 months into my service, and I hope to, I've created a rollover file so that anyone walking in my position can pick up where I left off and kind of run with it.
Good stuff, yeah.
Help me understand, Michael, in regard to the repair. So in this particular opportunity with volunteers, they can help a veteran in regard to having housing and being able to keep up on repairs in certain ways. Is that pretty much what you're having to have happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we understand based on research that when a veteran's in the community, he provides like a foundation of security, and in doing so, there's a certain criteria. I have a counterpart, Kim Davies. She's the actual coordinator. She goes out on the jobs and she looks at the houses and she determines based on a certain criteria that we have if the veteran qualifies for the repair. And the type of repairs we're talking about are like roofs, things that could put the veteran in a position where he could potentially lose his home.
Okay.
And once they meet that criteria, then we set about funding it. And most of our funding right now is through a partnership with the Home Depot Foundation.
Okay.
Okay.
Last year, we completed 10 veterans repairs with the funds provided by the Home Depot Foundation. I just formed another partnership with Ted Terry, who's he's the general manager of the Home Depot in Mechanicsburg.
Okay.
And under that partnership, through an agency called Good 360, we paid a small fee, but Home Depot is able to give us merchandise, return merchandise or overstock merchandise like wood, flooring, doors, things that we actually use in our repairs, and we can just go pick it up as when we need it. The only consideration, we have to pick it up ourselves and we have to store it. But fortunately for us, we do have a big warehouse here in Harrisburg that we can store bulk material in.
Wonderful.
So it was a win-win for them as well. It gets their name out there, and it's a good cause.
Fantastic.
It's under a program that they have called Framing Hope.
Framing Hope.
Framing Hope.
So we hear about veterans and back when we had the Vietnam War and stuff like that, it was a real focus on veterans returning and some of the plights and problems that they went through. But there's still veterans going through a lot today. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, you're a veteran. You've come back. What are some of the things that you see that maybe the general public is not aware of that the veteran goes through on a daily basis?
Well, believe it or not, there are a lot of veterans in homelessness. President Obama has a mandate to end eradicate homelessness amongst veterans.
Okay.
And it's a travesty that some of us who have served our country have found ourselves in positions of homelessness.
Yeah.
But more importantly, in these troubled economic times, not just veterans, everyone's a paycheck away from disaster.
That's right.
The whole purpose of the Repair Corps initiative is to kind of step in, and I kind of, when I present, I usually talk in military terms because a lot of my audiences are military veterans and active duty. And it's kind of like, I liken it to combat. Life in general is a firefight on a daily basis. And we all from time to time could use a reprieve, just to get our legs back under us, if you will. So that's where Repair Corps comes in. We step in and we make those repairs because oftentimes, if the choice is between fixing the leaky roof and keeping the lights on, the repair will lose out. And over time, it's compounded, and it then becomes critical.
Right.
It then you're put in a place where the veteran could, or anyone could potentially lose their home.
That's right.
And we just step in to alleviate that stress so that the veteran can get on about the business of living day to day without having to worry about that repair.
That's excellent.
Is there an application process? How do people be considered to get your support assistance? How does that
Yes,
happen?
there's an application. You can go on www.harrisburghabitat.org, and you can click on the tab to apply for the repair coordination. And you can also volunteer at that same website. Just click on the volunteer tab. We're always looking for volunteers. And that's the other prong, the other thrust of my program, to build a volunteer corps, to strengthen our volunteer corps for the actual repairs.
Fantastic. Great.
That was one of the big benefits partnering with the 28th Infantry Division, because that's about 2,000 potential volunteers there alone. And I've partnered with the United Way and several other agencies that provide volunteers for our program.
I'm glad to hear that, because I
great.
work for the United Way in the Cal
Absolutely.
region, so that's good to hear. No, you do a great job also. I'm just listening to all of the connections
Yeah,
you've made.
absolutely.
It's like very impressive, and so this is good stuff, man. Really good work. And I like the fact that you said, we just need more volunteers. So people out there who are hearing you, who want to volunteer, they can contact you.
Yes.
And get involved with this process. Do they need to necessarily have had, a big background in terms of repair? And will you teach them as they come, or how?
Absolutely. We have, on Habitat for Humanity's permanent staff, on their full-time staff, they have a construction manager, and that's his job. And we also have another visitor, my counterpart, Caden. He actually is on the job site too. He's on the job site in regard to safety and following manuals. But we have full-time staff members that will teach those who don't know.
Yeah.
Anyone who can pick up a hammer can make a repair.
All right. Sounds
Okay.
good.
So I could do that, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know, but
I don't know if the house will keep standing, but we'll be there, right? Okay. But here's the deal, though. There's someone out there right now who's saying, I would love to have an opportunity to have my first home and maybe go to an agency like Habitat. So how does somebody who's hearing this program, watching this program, say, how do I get involved? How do I get selected? Do you know the process that you have to go through?
Absolutely.
Okay.
To apply for partner houses, we call them partners.
Okay.
Those that we renovate houses and build houses for, we call them partner families. And you can contact Antron Watson at the website www.harrisburghabitat.org. And you can contact him via phone at 717-545-7299 extension 203. Again, that's Antron Watson at www.harrisburghabitat.org, or by phone at 717-545-7299 extension 203. And he'll walk you through the application process to become a partner family with Habitat for Humanity.
Fantastic. That's great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, good. Because I know that there are families out there who are, they may not have ever considered it, or now that they're hearing it, but they just don't know how to go about that. So I really appreciate you doing that. So, here in Harrisburg, then, how many homes have you personally been involved with in terms of, since you've been on board the 6 months with Habitat, seeing them really renovated and come into life for somebody?
Well, we did one in the 1400 block of, I believe it's the 1400 block of Zarker Street. It was dedicated back in November, I believe.
Okay.
October, November, forgive me, I don't remember the exact date. But Mayor Poppin Foots was there.
Great.
And media coverage. But the thing about it was the joy of this young lady's owning her first home and her two daughters being able to have their own bedroom. It was just a wonderful experience.
I think I saw it on Channel 20. I remember that.
Yeah, I think I remember
piece.
that too.
Yeah. But this is a relatively slow process. It's not like, you just jump into building houses all day. So people got to know that.
Yes.
And the reason why you mentioned partners is because?
Well, partners, because the family has to do something too. We have something called sweat equity.
Yeah.
The partner family has to participate physically in the building of the home or the renovation of the home.
Right.
And it's their investment. They invest a little bit of time in their sweat because it's their home.
Yeah.
And what I've seen in that one experience, the young lady, you know, she, as a matter of fact, she actually volunteered to work on other homes too. She was so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of that entire process.
I remember when former President Carter and his wife, you know, stepped in and started working with Habitat for Humanity. Really kind of, you know, brought
off.
really took off. Yeah, so this is a good thing. Yeah. So let's talk about yourself a little bit, because we know that you have, you know, just graduated, I understand, from Harrisburg Area Community College.
Yes, sir.
With an associate degree in Human Services.
Yep, I graduated cum laude.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
With an associate's
I
in
graduated
service.
shouting, "Thank you, Lottie." But anyhow, this is great, man. And so you have plans then for yourself beyond Vista AmeriCorps?
Yeah, I've been offered a fellowship at Lebanon Valley College for Bachelor in Social Work, BSW program. I'm going to pursue that. But in the meantime, I hope to get a job in a social services agency, hopefully in a case management position, capacity. I like to help.
Okay.
That's the shortest and sweetest I can say it. I was raised by a single mother. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and raised by a single mother household. But a couple of things that she taught us was service and love through service. Love is an action word. You've got to put some action behind it.
That's right.
You know.
Very good.
And,
Very, very good words.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Come on,
Absolutely.
in that way.
I've been transplanted to Harrisburg, but this is where God told me to stay.
All right.
In this area. Now, also, you're part of another training that you've been involved in, 9-10 sessions in regard to becoming a certified recovery specialist.
Yes.
Okay, an
Yes.
opportunity that was made available through Systems of Care for our faith-based community.
Yes.
And tell us what made you get involved with the wanting to get your certified recovery specialist
Well,
certification.
on a personal level, addiction has touched my family generationally. My father, who's deceased now, he was an alcoholic, and I lost 2 of my sisters to addiction.
Okay.
I've seen that devastation firsthand.
Yeah.
It's touched my life. It's touched my life personally, and I just want to get back, and I want to help.
Yeah.
That population is a unique population, and there are underpinnings to addiction that have to be addressed for recovery to be successful.
Absolutely. So this goes hand in hand with your work at
Exactly.
HAC and
Everything
work
you're doing.
now. So it's
Yeah.
good stuff. And that's, so I actually went through that process myself and didn't really take the national test and everything, but I completed all the coursework, thank you, and really enjoyed it. And I think it is a critical need in our community. So I'm so glad that you're going through the process.
Yes.
And I understand it's a lively class.
It is. It
and,
is.
and people are really into it, and that's good stuff. But this is the kind of thing that people can do with their lives. You can get involved. I mean, would you trade this experience with Habitat for anything?
Not for anything in the world.
I hear
I mean,
you.
because it's just broadened my horizon, if you will. It's just touched me. It's just allowed me to touch so many lives and engage so many people. It's hard to explain.
I understand.
I just did an interview with someone from HAC, from the academic success.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because I'm a non-conventional student, I'm 51 with 7 grandkids and a 4-year-old. And I'm also a man of color. And there's actually discussion at HAC going on right now about how to help men of color be successful with their collegiate experience.
Beautiful.
You know, Harrisburg is on fire.
All right.
And yourself, I met you years ago,
Yeah.
and you do a mighty work.
I appreciate you,
You
man.
know,
Nice.
the Gadsdens are well known in Harrisburg.
Thank you.
Like I said, you know, and just personally, I found myself homeless, living in the Bethesda Mission
Yeah.
3 years ago. And I'm being honest, I told God, if Harrisburg is where He would have me be, He would have to move.
Okay.
And I live in Harrisburg. I have a house. He moved.
All right.
He moved. So I believe that I'm assigned to be here in Harrisburg.
All right.
All right.
Well, you accepted the call and you were obedient to it, because we see that in the manifestations of all the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
And so just keep it up. And you also had some good mentors. You mentioned Vladimir Bofis before we started talking in the
Yes,
area.
yes.
And he's a great man of God, doing a lot of great work. So I'm glad you have great mentorship under Brother Vladimir, who truly understands. And so just hats off to you. And, part of what I hope will happen is that more people will invest in persons who are trying to, make it happen. And oftentimes, and I'm glad to hear you mention so many corporations that are stepping up and willing to, be involved in this process. I know one thing I did want to ask you, though, because you said that you're with Habitat, but actually you were assigned to Habitat, is that right?
Yes.
So you could have been assigned to other agencies as well.
Yeah.
That's the way the process works?
Well, I actually work for the Corporation for National Community Services, and as I mentioned earlier. It's the simplest way to explain it, it's the latest incarnation of the Peace Corps.
Right.
So I volunteered a service for 1 year, and they assigned me to a location.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, if this was a location not where your original where you live at, they'll pay your moving expenses for you to relocate.
Okay.
You can serve as a VISTA for up to 5 years.
Can you?
And there's some back end benefits. One of the benefits. After completing a successful year, I'm placed in a no competition federal job status for a year.
Nice.
Meaning that if I should apply for a federal job and I qualify for it, I won't have to compete for that position.
That's good stuff.
Isn't that good?
Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
good. And so, but you were all prepared to move. If they asked you to move and go to Baltimore,
yes.
You were ready. Okay, so that is a consideration for people who are watching the program. They might say, well, I might be interested in Vista, but Vista can kind of, assign you to different places. More than likely going to try to keep you in the area that you are. Is that
They do.
fair?
They do. Well, they post jobs. It's just like USAjobs.gov. You can actually go on myAmericorps.gov.
Okay.
And they actually have job postings, different Vista postings.
Okay.
And you can pick one that you like, and it also tells where the location is. And then you can decide if it's right for you, then you can start the application process. It's similar to filling out doing a federal job application. It's lengthy, and there are different questions that they ask you. But after the process, then you submit your application, and they'll contact you either by email or by phone.
Wow.
All right.
Nice,
Good stuff. Well, thanks for sharing. I'm sure a lot of people hopefully will take that down and be able to follow through if they have some interest in that. So you're going to stay here in Harrisburg then?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. This is home now. And you're not far from Baltimore by any means.
No, about an hour and 20 minutes
Right,
away.
yeah, it's not far.
The blessing of having this position in helping veterans, it's veterans come from all walks of life. And you mentioned Vladimir and the work that he does. He chairs the board of CRESIC, which is Capital Region Ex-Offender
That's right.
Support Coalition. And I'm also on the housing committee for CRESIC.
Wonderful.
And the mentoring committee for CRESIC. So there are veterans who are in those populations, ex-offenders. They are veteran ex-offenders. All of these populations kind of cross, they kind of merge, if you will.
Yeah, and part of the thing that's the downside for a lot of veterans who find themselves, homeless, this and that, oftentimes too, they find themselves in the criminal justice system because of circumstances. And so we got to be really careful and really reach out before all that, the bottom falls out, so to speak.
Yes.
And that's critical as well. So I'm so glad that you were able to come on and and talk about these things. There's that wonderful program that takes place over at the Farm Show. I'm sure you were part of that, where they bring in all these services for veterans, for homeless people.
Yes,
What is
Project
that?
Homeless Connect.
Homeless Connect. Yeah.
right.
So you were part of that. Have you been involved with that at
Yes,
all?
for the last 2 years I volunteered there. I just try and get back. I volunteer at the Shining Light thrift store sometimes.
Okay. And tell us about what is Shining Light for those who don't know.
Well, Shining Light is a thrift store on 3rd Street, in the 1300 block of North 3rd Street. And they provide clothing and some small household goods at a discount. Based on it's on a sliding scale based on your income. And you can get clothing and as I said, small home appliances, televisions and microwaves, and small things, and they even have some furniture items there.
Very nice. Yeah, very good. Yeah, and anybody could go in. Just anybody.
Yeah, anybody go in. As a matter of fact, you can go in and fill out an application, and they have an application process, and it'll determine if you qualify for their discount clothing program.
Okay, beautiful.
And you can, based on your income, you can get clothes for free.
Okay.
And if the Bethesda, you can get a referral to them from different places like the Salvation Army or the Bethesda Mission. You could get a referral to them, or you can just walk in off the street and say, "I'd like to apply for your discount clothing program."
That's something I wasn't familiar with. That.
Yeah, about that. And can we say thank God for Bethesda Mission for all the work that they do, man?
Yes,
Oh man,
yes.
you kind of see the building there, you see the big sign, but you really forget. You're just talking about transforming lives, right?
They have. They
Okay.
have. They do a tremendous work.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been trying to volunteer back there, for a long time. They have they have an application process as well. And I tried to volunteer, my wife and I, on Thanksgiving and Christmas, but the waiting list is a couple of years out.
Just to volunteer?
Just to volunteer
my
for
goodness.
Christmas and
So
Thanksgiving.
that shows how powerful and important that agency is. Wow, I didn't know that. I thought anyone could just go out and volunteer. No, not so.
The application process.
Yeah, you have to apply.
That's good. That's good. That's great. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking about all the great work you do. I hope we've encouraged someone to look into Habitat for Humanity, Vista, AmeriCorps.
Absolutely.
Just volunteering for some of the agencies that are currently in the city, such as Bethesda Mission, and you mentioned United Way of the Capital Region that has a volunteer corps. And so people always can contact, if they don't know, the United Way of the Capital Region is 732-0700. Again, that's 732-0700. Ask for Heidi Newhouse.
Absolutely.
Heidi Newhouse, and she is the coordinator of the Volunteer Center. And, she'd be happy to hear from you, and she can match you up with some wonderful, needed opportunities in the Harrisburg area as far as volunteers are concerned. And if you don't do that, then, of course, contact my man Mpowell here, who is doing some great work. And you certainly can connect them to a lot of different ways. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can contact me at my office at Habitat for Humanity at area code 717-545-7299, extension 206. Again, that's 717-545-7299, extension 206.
And you mentioned that you could possibly be a volunteer person for 5 years. Have you any thought about that in terms of how long you might, stay on?
Yeah, if Habitat would have me for another year, I would be honored.
Fantastic.
To further this program.
Well, you know what, Michael, thank you so much for doing the work that you do. You make us all proud.
Yes,
and I
indeed.
appreciate, Vista, Habitat for Humanity and all. And we want to thank you as well, because we know that you take these programs to heart and you do get involved. So thank you for all that you do. And we'll see you next time here on Life Esteem. Goodbye.
Thanks.